What if one of the biggest power shifts in North America in half a century didn't happen with a bang, but with a quiet, calculated pivot? For decades, Canada has existed in the shadow of its southern neighbor. The relationship with the U.S. has defined its economy, its security, and its place in the world. But on March 6, 2026, in Tokyo, something profound changed. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba stood side by side to announce what they called a comprehensive strategic partnership. It might sound like standard diplomatic language, but it's not. This wasn't just another trade deal. This was the result of years of careful planning, a strategic response to a world where predictability is in short supply. It's the story of how a so-called middle power, often overlooked on the world stage, decided to forge a more independent path. This is a story about building bridges while others focus on walls, and it's a story with consequences that will ripple across the globe. To get why this is such a big deal, you have to understand the core problem. For a country like Canada, stability is everything. Its entire national project is built on a foundation of stable, rules-based international order. For generations, the United States was the main anchor for that stability, the guarantor of the system, the biggest market, and the security umbrella under which Canada could prosper. But the world has become a much more chaotic place. The last decade has seen a rise in transactional foreign policy, where alliances can sometimes feel more like balance sheets than partnerships. For Canada, the warning signs have been flashing. Think of ad hoc tariffs on steel and aluminum, or the constant threat of tearing up continental trade pacts. These actions created a chilling effect on investment and made long-term planning incredibly difficult. It became clear to policymakers in Ottawa that relying so heavily on one partner was a major liability. Canada needed a backup plan. It needed to diversify not just its trade, but its entire network of alliances. It needed new partners who still believed in the old rules, in stability, reliability, and keeping their word. In global affairs, uncertainty is poison. For a G7 economy like Canada, that poison is especially toxic. Canada's prosperity is built on a delicate ecosystem of cross-border supply chains and trade relationships. When the rules of the game can change overnight, billion-dollar investment decisions are put on hold. Capital looks for safer harbors. Jobs are put at risk. And this isn't just about economics, it's also a national security issue. A volatile world creates power vacuums, regional conflicts can flare up, and aggressive states may feel emboldened to test the boundaries of the international order. Shipping lanes become less secure. For an energy-importing nation like Japan, which relies on the Middle East for over 90% of its crude oil, the risk of disruption in a place like the Strait of Hormuz is a direct threat. In this environment of chaos, the most valuable commodity isn't oil or microchips. It's stability. It's predictability. It's the simple assurance that the deals made yesterday will still be honored tomorrow. This was the agitator, the creeping realization in Ottawa and other allied capitals that the world had fundamentally changed. Waiting for things to go back to normal wasn't an option. A new strategy was needed, one that didn't rely on the whims of a single superpower. This was the moment Canada realized it needed to build its own network of reliable partners. It was a choice born of necessity: find new anchors or risk being swept away by the storm. Faced with a fragmenting world order, Canada chose a different path. While some nations built walls, Canada, under the leadership of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, focused on building bridges. This wasn't an aggressive move, but one of strategic necessity, a logical response for a middle power looking to safeguard its interests. The strategy began with a simple but powerful idea. Canada would focus on what it could control. If it couldn't control the political chaos elsewhere, it could control its own destiny by diversifying its partnerships. This thinking was the heart of Canada's revamped Indo-Pacific strategy, a major effort to pivot the country's economic and diplomatic focus toward Asia. The message at every stop was the same. In a world of uncertainty, Canada is a stable, reliable, and valuable partner. The choice of Japan as the cornerstone of this strategy was a masterstroke. Japan, another G7 democracy, was facing the exact same problems. It has a deep alliance with the United States, but has also been unnerved by global instability and the rise of an assertive China in its backyard. It's a trade-dependent nation that thrives on the rule of law, and it has a critical need for secure sources of energy, food, and critical minerals, all things Canada has in abundance. Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba saw the same logic. The two leaders recognized that by combining their strengths, they could create a powerful new axis of stability. They share fundamental values like democracy and the rule of law, making them natural allies in a world increasingly defined by a struggle between democratic and autocratic systems. This wasn't about replacing the United States. It was about building a parallel structure, a strategic hedge in a volatile world. It was Canada, the Atlantic nation, finally embracing its identity as a Pacific nation and building a powerful new bridge across the ocean. We're about to dive into the nuts and bolts of this historic new alliance, the military, technology, and energy pacts that are changing the game. This is the kind of in-depth, big-picture analysis we do here every week. If you believe that understanding these massive geopolitical shifts is more important than ever, then take a quick pause and hit that subscribe button. And be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a deep dive into the forces shaping our world. Okay, let's get back to it. On March 6, 2026, that bridge building became a reality. The comprehensive strategic partnership announced by Trudeau and Ishiba wasn't just a handshake, it was a detailed six-pillar roadmap designed to intertwine the two nations' futures. This is the architecture of Canada's. The most striking part of the agreement is the huge boost in defense and economic security cooperation. This goes way beyond token gestures. The legal plumbing was laid just before the announcement. A Security of Information Agreement, SIA, entered into force in January 2026, allowing for the secure exchange of classified intelligence. An Equipment and Technology Transfer Agreement, ETA, was also signed, creating the legal basis for their defense industries to co-develop and trade sensitive military hardware, though it is still pending entry into force. These agreements pave the way for a much deeper military partnership, including more complex joint naval exercises. Significantly, Japan has been invited to increase its participation in Arctic training missions like Operation Nanook. This brings a major Asian power into the strategic defense of the North American Arctic, sending a clear signal to both Russia and China. They also agreed to establish a new cyber policy dialogue to coordinate on defending against digital threats. On the economic front, the pact establishes a new economic security dialogue to coordinate strategy on building resilient supply chains for critical minerals, like lithium and cobalt, which Canada has and Japan needs, and for key technologies like semiconductors and batteries. The next pillars leverage Canada's vast natural resources to give Japan what it desperately needs: energy and food security. With global shipping lanes under threat, Japan is acutely aware of its energy vulnerability. The agreement specifically commits to expanding trade in Canadian liquefied natural gas, LNG, with cooperation on nuclear energy and clean hydrogen as well. A key advantage highlighted by officials is that there's no geo-economic choke point between Canada and Japan, just the open Pacific. This offers Japan a secure energy lifeline that bypasses the world's most volatile regions. The pact also aims to boost Canada's role as a massive agricultural supplier to Japan and increase two-way trade and investment. Finally, the roadmap includes pillars for cooperation on the Arctic, the environment, and climate change, as well as for boosting people-to-people, academic, and cultural exchanges. This shows the partnership is about more than just military hardware and economics. It's about building a deep, society-wide relationship for the long term. The Canada-Japan Comprehensive Strategic Partnership is more than a document. It's a shift in geopolitics. The first and most dramatic result is what it means for Canada's place in the world. Its alliance with the U.S. remains a cornerstone of its security, but this move ends the near-exclusive dependence on that alliance. By deeply integrating its economy and security with Japan's, Canada has given itself more options and more leverage. It can no longer be taken for granted. The second result is the emergence of Canada as a genuine Pacific power. For decades, this was more of an aspiration than a reality. Now, it's a fact. By becoming a key partner for energy and technology supply chains in the Indo-Pacific, Canada has anchored itself in one of the most strategically important regions of the 21st century. It is no longer defined only by its relationship across the 49th parallel, but also by its new bridge across the Pacific. Finally, this alliance sends a powerful message. It's a testament to the growing strategic alignment of middle powers who want to uphold the rules-based order. It's a partnership of democracies committed to stability in a turbulent world. In the end, this story is a study in contrasts. As global tensions rose, Canada quietly and methodically went about building bridges. While some sowed uncertainty, Ottawa offered stability. This new alliance with Japan is the ultimate result of that strategy. It's a declaration that in a chaotic world, predictability is power. Canada has stepped up, and in doing so, may have just stepped into a future that it can better control for itself. What do you think this partnership means for the future? Let us know in the comments below.